Welcome.
We ain't afraid of no ghosts.
This is your number one podcast for ghoulies and ghosties and long-legged beasties. Bringing you everything you need to know about things that go bump in the night and interviewing the personalities behind them. Make sure your doors and windows are locked. Now, here are your hosts, your ghost hosts, Scott and Julie.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Paranormal Project. Hi, Julie. How you doing tonight?
Hi, Scott. I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. So I have to tell you, we went to the Michigan Paracon. What was that? August now. I can't believe
that was the end of August. Yes.
And while I was there, I was talking to my agent, and she says, you have to go down the hall, down the end of this room, and get a massage from this girl, whoever it is. And I said, really? She said, I'm telling you, it's the best thing. She said, I don't do these massages, but they're amazing. I said, all right, I'll go down and take a peek in a minute. So I went down, looked, and guess who it was? Nicole Beauchamp, our guest for tonight. And I knew she was going to be on the show already, but I thought, this is amazing. So I went and I booked a massage with her. Of course, you know the rest of the story. The car broke down, and that was the end of that. We never got anywhere. We spent the whole day having to go to Canada to get a new tire on the car.
From the rental car place. Always a fun time.
She is a triple threat. So she's an author, and we're going to talk about her books. She's already got us a couple of books out, and I think she may be working on a third. She is a leader of a paranormal group in Michigan, and she gives a great massage. I mean, I don't know what else you could ask for, you know, when you're stuck out at a haunted location. So we should bring her out. Nicole, come on in. Oh, look, people from Canada. Timothy. Hi, Timothy. Hello, how are you? Nicole, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me on. It was so nice to meet you guys, by the way.
In person, right? And I actually have your book right here, Haunted Detroit. This is the latest one, right?
Yes,
and
it
you
is.
Signed it for me in Michigan, and it says, stay amazing. The problem is, I don't know if I was ever amazing. I mean, Julie was kind of...
Nicole was being very diplomatic,
very,
Scott.
very nice.
I applaud your diplomacy, Nicole.
He's all right. He's all right.
Comes and goes, you know.
Comes and goes.
Yes, yeah.
So which came first, the massage, the ghosts? How did all of this come together for you?
You know, that's a great question. I get that a lot. So I would say the ghost came first. I had an interest ever since I was a little kid, ever since I became conscious of my surroundings and my own thoughts and feelings. And it was just always something I was interested in. Always a big fan of Halloween, horror movies, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But I always desired to work in the paranormal. Like that was a long-term goal, I guess. However, I worked probably every dead-end job you can think of for minimum wage. And I was actually working for a dog groomer, worked for a horrible boss at the time. And right before, I lost my job due to the COVID shutdown, which was the best thing that could have happened to me, because during that quarantine, I was actually in school to become a massage therapist and writing a book. So September 2020, my book came out. It was published and, you know, out into the world. And I also became a licensed massage therapist just a week apart. So my whole life changed in September of 2020.
Wow.
Now, was that the Haunted Bay City book? Is it Bay
Yes.
City? Haunted Bay City.
Yeah.
How did this come about? Because you just sat down and said, I want to write a book, or did they come to you, or what was the, I mean, because you have a niche, right? So it's Haunted Detroit, which is your latest book, Haunted Bay City. And these publishers that you work with, these are the kinds of books they do, right? Based on different cities and that kind of thing, or how did you connect with them?
Yep. So I write for the Haunted America series, and it's a collection of different authors, basically all over the United States. But I always, like, it was always a bucket list dream for me to write a book. However, I just started to feel that it was impossible, that nothing was ever going to come of that dream because some things were in the works. I actually pitched a little bit of my work to a major publisher, and then they said, well, it's just going to be an ebook. So I turned it down, which was gut wrenching to do. So I just thought, I'm just done. Like, it's done. That ship has sailed. And then while I was in massage school, I got this email, and it was from Arcadia Publishing. And they said, we've been watching your work in the paranormal over the past 10 years. We like what we see, and we'd like you to write a book for us. So it was like,
Wow. It was
stars aligned.
Yeah.
Yes, that's just awesome. And I think that just shows to go, honestly, just keep pursuing that dream. Just keep thinking positively, putting out those positive intentions every day. We're all going to get down. We're all going to say it's not going to happen, or I can't do this, or I don't know where I should go. But I think just, looking at the way it happened with you, just keep true to yourself and keep true to that dream.
Exactly. And that's kind of what I do now, is I tell people, because I've fallen on hard times many, many, many times, and had to dig myself, out of the deepest of holes ever. But I always tell people, you can change your life. It is very achievable. It's very possible. The thing is that during the entire duration of the quarantine, I didn't really go out anywhere. I didn't hang out with friends. I didn't do anything. I just, focused on what I had to get done here, which was writing that first book and, working to become licensed. And I just treated that like my full-time job. And I think that's the biggest thing of all, is just, putting in that time.
So
and
how did
turning
you
a negative into a positive is what you did.
Absolutely. How did you do the research, though, when everything was shut down, and was it all like via phone, or how did you find people that knew all the stories, unless you knew all the stories?
Well, I knew quite a few of the stories just because this is where I'm, I was born and raised here in Bay City. And so I already had an inkling, of what was kind of rumored to be haunted around the town. But I like to meet people in person, honestly. So I did do in-person interviews for the book. And as far as the rest of the research, I hit up a lot of historical societies, basically all over the United States, different libraries, went to the library here in Bay City, because that was open right before the shutdown, and dug through the old archives there. So I was able to gather quite a bit of information. And the internet is my best friend, really. I mean, newspapers.com is loaded with some great information. So that was very helpful too.
Newspapers.com. That's great. And of course, you have to document all that stuff somewhere. I don't know how you do that.
You have to love the research. For me, I love the research. Yeah, as part of, I'm a paranormal investigator, which I love investigating. But my favorite part, honestly, is sitting down and doing the research, going to the historical societies, delving through, the things on the internet. It's just so exciting because you never know where it's going to lead. You find this little snippet of information and you just start pursuing it, and suddenly you're down the rabbit hole.
Well, you're absolutely right on that. It's, I guess for me, it's both a love and hate relationship, because I love it because it's very interesting. And I always feel like the hauntings have to have some kind of a backstory, right? So I always try to, find, I guess, the associations. But at the same time, it takes so long to write those chapters, because you got to comb through so much research, and then you come up with stories that don't align, like people tell you a ghost story and it doesn't align with the history. Like the dates are really wonky.
Hey, Travis.
So it can be a challenge sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sure. But when you get that and it's done and you have that product and you look at it and it's this culmination of all that hard work that you've done, it's got to be really such an incredible feeling, really, to have that and it's there. Where can they get your books? Are they everywhere, or?
You can find it at most major bookstore retailers online.
Amazon
Barnes
has
and
it.
Noble.
Amazon, everything, right? I got
Yeah.
mine from you. Haunted Bay City and Haunted Detroit. That's the Haunted Detroit. That's the new book. Can they buy, and I don't know, I'm just asking this, can they buy autographed copies from you? Or I don't know if you have a website or anything like that where they can get.
I need to get a website. but yeah, I mean, if they reach out to me on Facebook, it's basically facebook.com/author Nicole, Nicole, Beauchamp, Beauchamp. If anybody writes me, that can be arranged for sure.
So I was surprised because you're very humble. When we talked, we're very humble, but you have done some great things within our community. You have lectured with John Tenney, who is really a force to be reckoned with on the stage. We saw him in Michigan, and he's just really a great person to listen to.
He is.
And his stories are amazing. But you also have contributed to the Taps Para magazine. You were honored by Jason Hawes from Ghost Hunters and Ghost Nation. You were on the cover of Underground Paranormal. How'd that come about? That's incredible.
Well, they wanted to do an interview with me, so I did it. I didn't know I was going to wind up on the cover, or I would have provided a way better photograph of myself. But they said that whatever I sent in might be a candidate for the cover, but here I'm thinking like that's not probably going to happen. And then here we are, so a picture of me when I was young 20s. I mean, I guess in my defense, I was probably 60 pounds lighter back then. So, okay, I'll take it.
I'll take it. Was that because of your first book? Was that your first book?
No, Underground Paranormal magazine. They just did an interview with me because of revolving around my paranormal.
Okay, not because of the book, not because you're the author. It was just because your involvement with the paranormal.
Yeah.
So, what is your favorite? At least in this book, Haunted Detroit, you've listed a lot of different. How many of these have you investigated yourself, and what's your favorite?
I investigated a couple of them, but my favorite location, probably out of the Haunted Detroit book, probably would be the Leland Hotel. It's definitely not a very accessible place. But I will say that just the history of that place is so creepy. The ghost stories that come out of there are some of the most terrifying that I've ever heard. I would love to do something bigger, focusing on that place and its spooky history. So, I don't know who's listening to this, if anybody out there can hear me, but I would love to create a documentary or do something like that, because that place is just so eerie and it deserves to have its story told. It's not really a place many people have heard about before.
What is the Leland Hotel?
Right. I've not heard of it. So can you just tantalize us with maybe one ghost story from the Leland Hotel, just to draw us in, and perhaps a producer out there might become very, very interested.
All right, I'll do my best here.
Okay, we're ready.
So it was built in the late 1920s. And it at the time was one of the finest hotels in the city, very much like a Ritz-Carlton, just a hoity-toity fancy place. But then it began getting patronized by the Purple Gang and other gangsters and criminals, and lots of murders began taking place there. People were killing themselves there. There was a lot of freak accidents happening there. So it really just became like just one big giant crime scene, right? So now it's excessively run down, partially used as a goth nightclub and partially used as low-income apartments. So unfortunately, other than getting into the club, you can't really, I mean, the lobby and the club, you can't really get into the apartment section of it, but there is just so many ghost stories from the entire property. Detroit has seen a lot of phantom roof jumpers.
Really?
A lot of people killed themselves there during the Great Depression. A lot of people were thrown off of the building because they made the gangsters mad. And there was one gal who actually stayed the night there. She was there. She came in to stay with her sister for about 3 weeks. And while she was there, she was hearing the sound of somebody choking. So she would go into the bathroom and she would brush her teeth and she would hear the sound of somebody choking. And this continued, night after night. Finally, it started keeping her awake. And she told her sister, hey, like, I keep hearing this person choking and I'm getting really sick of it. It's starting to irritate me because, it's nonstop. So her sister took her out in the hallway and she said, I don't have any neighbors, so I don't know who you're hearing. And, Deandra, who's the girl that came to stay, she said, I don't buy that. Somebody's in there doing something and it's disrupting me. So her sister proceeded to open each door from the apartments next to her and showed her that, they were indeed empty. So, it just continues. Finally, she's starting to think, okay, somebody's sneaking in there to do drugs. I mean, what else could it possibly be?
Right.
So she goes down to the front desk and reports it. The elevators are very wonky there. So she took the elevator down, but now the elevator stopped at a certain floor when she went, on her way back up. So she had to climb this decrepit stairwell. She gets to the floor that her sister lives on. She walks out of the doorway and she hears something behind her. So she swings around. There is a man there. He's dressed kind of fancy, but he's got, he doesn't look quite right. She can tell like that his skin color is a little lashy and, gray. And so she kind of looks at him a little closer and notices he's got a bullet hole right through his neck. So at this point, she's like, I'm done.
Check, please.
So she bolts, she absolutely bolts like to her sister's apartment, slams the door shut, locks it, and she can hear like he's still coming down the hallway at her. So, I mean, she's got her back against the door, holding it shut. She's got the deadbolt on, she's not about to see him any closer than she needs to. And so I think it was that night. Or no, it was early the next morning. She pretty much like drank herself to sleep, which she would never have done before. But this Leland Hotel has a way of like derailing normal, healthy people. And so she drinks like pure vodka to knock herself out. And she falls asleep. And she wakes up early in the morning and she's hearing this like choking sound. So at this point she's like, what is that? And she glances up and she sees a man, like the silhouette of a man in the vanity mirror directly across from her. And he says something like, they shot me and they'll shoot you too, or something like that. So she's like terrified at this point. She throws the blankets over her head and all of a sudden the blankets like rip off of her and go. And then at this point it's all hysteria for her. So she is like screaming bloody murder. Her sister comes in. She's saying there's a man in the room. Her sister's assuring her there's no man in there. Long story short, she basically says, I'm not staying here anymore. My stay is up. I'm done. I'm leaving. I'm going to another hotel. And so they kind of got like into a bit of a little dispute because, you know, she went to go stay at a hotel and didn't spend the rest of the vacation with her sister. So, you know, the two girls were kind of mad at each other, but what can you do?
So I think, you know, next year when we go to Michigan, we should get a room at that Leland Hotel. And then we will first have to invest in bulletproof vests and some other, maybe some pepper spray or something if you're going to stay at that part of town. But, you know,
well, you might have to have $1 million to give them to stay the night there because, oh my God, we got kicked. So my cover photographer and I got kicked out of the lobby because she was taking pictures, and
oh, no.
and I still put the picture that she took on the back of the book because, you know, I'm like, come on, babe.
You know, blood, sweat, and tears for that. Well, you know, you're not a paranormal investigator. You're not a true paranormal investigator unless you've been kicked out of one of the better places.
Yeah. Now,
I must say, there you go. Yep. You know, so, you know, we earn our stripes. I myself was kicked out of Newburyport, which is very, very hoity-toity here on the North Shore.
That's why you were kicked out.
That's why, yes, very hoity-toity, and we were asked to leave, and you know, we were followed to the little the little Dunkin' Donuts on the other side of town because we're investigating in there. It was a big public cemetery, but I guess people saw our flashlights, didn't know what was going on, so the police came and they said we should leave. And we're like, oh, okay, and like, no, now. Okay.
See,
so, you know, these things happen, Nicole.
I don't think I ever told you guys I got almost arrested. And
do tell.
Well, okay.
Please, let's tell our stories. I love it.
Between us, go ahead. Tell us about it. We won't tell anybody.
Well,
no one you know is listening, Nicole. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, my mom knows about this, and she didn't even care.
Oh, see, so it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. So I was at the Dice Road Cemetery in Hemlock, Michigan. I don't know if you've ever heard about it. And this was years ago now, but I was just taking pictures. That's all I was doing. I had my camera. I was taking pictures of the gravestones. A cop comes in because I guess it was starting to get a little bit late, but it still was. There was still like a sun in the sky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the cop accuses me because I put my camera in my bag. He accuses me of having a weapon. I did not have a weapon. I don't even own a weapon. Okay. So I'm trying to explain to him, no, it's just a camera. I like show him the inside of my bag. I pull out the equipment and everything that I had in there. And he's like, keep lying to me. I'm going to take you down. You're going to have a misdemeanor and we're taking you down to the jail. I was like, I'm not doing anything. So needless to say, I was like, all right, I'll leave, you know, but I got out of there as fast as I could.
See, I'll tell you, you know, and dusk, they say that cemeteries close at dusk. Now, dusk has no time frame. Dusk can go for 3 hours.
Good.
Depends upon where you are in the country.
I mean, it was still super light outside, so
right. You know.
And, you know, Julie, you know my feeling on cemeteries, right? I used to be a funeral director and an embalmer. Like 35 years I did that. 35 years. And those were places I went to work. And when I left, I didn't want to go back. And I still don't have, I really am not excited about cemeteries at all. Not at all. But, you know, unless they're beautiful. We have Mount Auburn Cemetery in Cambridge, Mass, outside of Boston, which is just, you know, that's the architecture and that kind of thing.
Park-like, very, very pretty.
Very, very, very beautiful. Yeah. But like the regular cemetery, I just don't get excited about it.
Yeah.
It's cold like 9 months out of the year. So
yeah,
it is cold. Yes. I understand that. Yeah. Oh gosh. So question for you. Our Tri-City Ghost Hunters are you still doing investigations? Do you
Yeah.
do home investigations or ghost walks or all of the above?
Yeah, we do all of the above. We are on a little tiny hiatus just right now, while I work on book number 3. However, we were supposed to have a big public investigation, I think just this past weekend, but part of the roof fell in at the building we were supposed to have it at.
Wow.
So we had to cancel it.
Yeah.
However, we're hoping to reschedule it maybe for next month.
Mhm.
But we do paranormal walks, and those are downtown Bay City, and we do different library talks all over the state, and
Mhm.
we still are very active as a team. But we just can't go as often and as much as we would like when I'm writing these books, just because it's a lot of work.
Oh,
And I'm trying to
sure.
get it done.
And
Can
and
you
also, no one, people on the teams don't do this for a living. So we have what we call day jobs, that need to be done. And so it's difficult to get everyone together to do what you want to do.
Right. And yeah, and I work 4 jobs, so
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm very busy,
right.
and I
When
just
do you write? When do you write? How do you get through a book?
every pretty much when I get out of work, I'll sit down and focus on it. I have been known in the last couple weeks to be taking a couple extra days off each week, just because I'm like, how am I ever going to get this done? Because they have such a strict deadline. They want the book
Oh,
done by
Mhm.
4 months, in 4 months. And
Right.
I'm on chapter 7. No, I'm going to be on chapter 7 tomorrow. So, I mean, I'm not doing terribly,
Mhm.
but you know,
can
it
you
The
could
share
be
pressure's on.
can you share the premise of the third book? Is it something in another city in Detroit or
It's actually gonna involve the entire state of Michigan,
Oh,
different cities around the state. It is a specific type of haunted something. Some people probably already know, but I
yep.
don't wanna tell anybody, just because I don't want somebody to snag my idea, I guess.
I get you. I get you. Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. So, what is another one of your favorite places to investigate if anybody's traveling out that way? Are there places I don't know how far Bay City is from Detroit, actually. I don't know anything about the geography in Michigan, but um, if they're in
Mhm.
Detroit, if they're in Bay City or anywhere around that area, what are some of the places that you can go and investigate?
In Bay City, you can investigate the USS Edson, which is a naval destroyer.
Oh,
And
Oh,
that's a really cool place. There's lots of activity. It's doesn't seem like it would be that big of a ship, but once you get on it, I mean, it's just never ending. It seems like, with all the different little rooms and places to explore. It's fun.
yeah.
It's a lot of fun. And that's haunted by a former caretaker that's there. So that would be highly recommended. Um, and then I would say in Detroit, definitely check out the Whitney, check out the Eloise Asylum. Those are 2 very cool places that allow overnight investigations and
Interesting.
ghost tours.
Now, destroyer. What is the USS Salem? That's not that's a ship that we have near us. Is that a cruiser?
I believe she's a cruiser.
Cruiser.
Yes.
I knew it wasn't a battleship, but I
She's
wasn't
not a
sure.
battleship, that I know, not a destroyer. I believe she's a cruiser. And if Don de Cristoforo is out there, you can correct us.
I just
And
wonder the size. You know what I mean? The size of a cruiser, because I know how big that ship is, and it's a big ship, and we don't even get into the whole place
and
because it's massive.
yeah, and I don't even think it's considered a big ship compared to a battleship or something like that. But we have that, and she's docked in Quincy, Massachusetts. crazy activity there, absolutely crazy activity. So it's amazing the kind of activity that you can get on locations like that.
Yeah.
When we were in Michigan, of course, there's really nothing with that. I don't know if there's anything on that end of the state, but you're so far north at the Canadian border. I mean, there's nothing. There's, restaurants with antlers and,
Well, I mean, you're talking about like Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's like there are parts of Michigan where it's literally like the middle of nowhere. Where I live is a city. I mean, it's not country at all. Like you can walk to stores and there's parades and things to do. But the further south you go, the busier in the well, more like the further south and the further west you go. Like there's just more to do. But yeah, I'm not at all like a country gal of any kind, so I would probably wither away if I didn't have something to do.
Oh, believe me, I know.
The country. Just put Julie in a cabin in the middle of nowhere. Let her build a fire.
You know what? I mean, just put me in a closet and let me die. Seriously. That's it. Honestly, I am a city girl. I grew up in Boston. No. I mean, I love to go visit these places. And Sault Ste. Marie was beautiful. The Upper Peninsula, as they call it, was beautiful. But I understand that it's more like a vacation area. There are state parks. People go there to camp and fish and that type of thing and kill things. So we're in a restaurant. Do you remember the name of the restaurant, Scott?
Antlers.
The place was called Antlers. Have you been?
Of course it was.
I've never been to that restaurant, but
it's like Roadkill Cafe, and it was good. Don't get me wrong. The restaurant,
the food was great. I mean, everybody was great. Your service was great. It's just that at one point I looked at Scott and I said, we have things in restaurants here called Dining with the Dead.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have those kind of events where you can have a dinner and there'll be a psychic reading and maybe there'll be an investigation, and they just happen to call it Dining with the Dead. And I looked at Scott and I said, this gives a whole new meaning to Dining with the Dead.
Yeah, no kidding.
It was stuffed animals that had been stuffed and antlers everywhere, but not just antlers, but taxidermied animals, wild animals.
From ducks to leopards to
leopards.
Bears.
There was a leopard there. It was crazy.
Doesn't sound like a place I would enjoy. I mean, I don't know if I'm a pescatarian. I haven't ate meat in like 20 some years, so I don't think
apparently they had fish, and people said the fish was great. Is it whitefish that's very popular there? There was a kind of fish that was very popular.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, there's a name. There's a name for it, and I don't remember what.
There was a name for it. I'm not a fish eater. I mean, I'm a carnivore. I'll admit it, but I just don't want it staring at me while I'm eating its brother.
Well, if you go back there, you got to go to the crepe cafe called Oh Crepe. That's my favorite restaurant up there.
Oh Crepe.
There's a crepe. There's a creperie.
Oh, crepe.
Oh, la la. I miss the creperie in Boston. Oh,
it's so good. It's so good. So I always go there, and sometimes I order 2 crepes. Because
I would definitely order 2 crepes.
Yeah,
now, where is it? Because we didn't see that advertised at all.
It's right on the main strip. Right in Sault Ste. Marie, right across from the Sioux Locks. There's a fudge shop and a ice cream shop and lots of little gift shops, and it's right kind of mixed in with.
In that little town, along the water.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, we just sort of breezed through there because we didn't see anything. And we had asked people, where we should go to eat. And they told us, well, you have to go to Antlers if you're going there. And then there was another place that they told us to go. And the food was very good. It was good.
Yeah. I can't think of the name of it. There was one place we went, and we had a great breakfast. Then we went back. I don't know if it was that night or the next night. And we went to the other side, which was the Gunslinger Saloon. And so it was both great, but definitely very Sault Ste. Marie, the two of them.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I do love that casino that they have Paracon at, but the food there is something else.
No, definitely not. No.
Great.
And we went to it was a restaurant on site there, and they pretty much told us that they didn't have hardly anything on their buffet, so that we had to choose off the menu. And I ended up getting a Caesar salad because there was, they were like, we don't have this, we don't have that. I mean, no, like there was only 1 or 2 options for me to pick from to eat because I don't eat meat. So it was,
oh my gosh.
So I just had a salad. So, when I was drinking at the bar that night, I mean, it was definitely going straight to the bloodstream,
Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. Wow. Although I have to say,
people, if you read chapter 6, a little twisted.
Yeah, there was a game in that casino that really, really liked me. I kept going back. We became best friends, besties.
I wish I could have that kind of luck.
And then that was it. I went to another casino a couple of weeks later and it took all my money. So that was that.
That's what happens to me. I don't even like to gamble. I don't even like to put like even $1 in because I never win anything. It's so sad.
Oh, I think we were bad influences because we met a woman there that Scott had known from online. She was a fellow writer, and so we met her, and so we were going to go to the casino, and she said, I've never been to a casino. I said, oh, come with me. And I took her up to guest relations. We got her card so she could get some free slot play. And then before we know it, she's walking around playing all these machines. And I'm thinking, oh no, what did I do?
She's now on food stamps and doesn't have a piece of it. And it's all Julie's fault.
All my fault.
That's fun. I think one of the best, because I never win anyway, but I was there. The best thing was, I don't know where you were, Julie. I don't know if you went to bed early that night or something, but we went in the casino. Oh no, that was the night I dropped you off. I went back with Maria from Mysterious Adventures Tours.
Yes.
We went in and
we had dinner at the Gunslinger Saloon. And I said, just drop me off because I can't afford to lose any more money.
It was celebrity night at the casino. So I was sitting there talking with Jason Hawes and Sharon D. Benedetti. And then, next to me was Dakota Layden from Destination Fear, and then the other guys from Destination Fear came over and they were hanging. I was like, I'm in the middle of all of this, great.
Did you guys hear, like, I did karaoke and Jason Huss turned to one of my friends at the table and he said, wow, she's a really good singer.
That's great.
I'm like, the Simon Cowell of the Paranormal approved.
Right. Of all the people that you would never expect that from. Although his funny little thing is that I, in January, retired from my job of 30 years at MIT. So one of the things that they did for me as a gift, unbeknownst to me, was Jason Hawes, and a number of celebrities do will do cameos for events. So they got Jason Hawes to do a cameo to congratulate me on my retirement of 30 years. And it was kind of funny because, he's like, oh, I understand you like ghost hunting, going to have so much more time to ghost hunt and all of this. And he just kept shaking his head saying, wow, 30 years, that's a long time. Wow, 30 years at MIT, that's a long time. Well, congratulations. So went to the Paracon, and it was a week or two before that. We know his daughter, Satori, from just doing different things, Satori and Cody. And I always chat with Satori, the kind of grandma type thing. And so I'd seen her a couple of weeks before. So we went in Rhode Island, then we went to see her in Michigan. So I was chatting with her for a little bit. And then Jason had come over. So, I introduced myself and I said, I'm sure you do 1 million of these. and you don't remember this at all. However, it was a thrill for me. And I told him about the cameo, and he looked at me and he said, I do remember that because I remember 30 years at MIT. And I kept thinking to myself, that is such a long time to be working in one place.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thrilled. I walked away and I was on cloud nine. I said, he remembers me. Jason Hawes remembers me.
Funny.
He and his daughter and Cody, they're also wonderful. They're
Yes.
very down to earth and sweet, and I really like them all, and I always have.
Yeah, just very, at least, she's young, she's very sweet, always gets a hug, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I had never met him, and he just comes across as very low key, easy going. I mean, I don't know what he's like when he's home, but he seems like just a regular guy, which is really nice, down to earth and everything.
Yeah, I mean, you think out of anybody in this industry who would have an ego, it would be him, because he was kind of like the one who set the precedent for all of us.
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely agree. He certainly did. I mean, he's the one that took the stigma out of what we do. Yeah. Because like you, I was always interested in it growing up. And I've always been a psychic empath growing up. And so it was something you didn't talk about. We just didn't talk about these things. I, mentioned my mother. My mother even said, we don't talk about that. My mother was, my mother had a gift, but you just didn't talk about it. So when TAPS came out, when Ghost Hunters came on Sci-Fi, it just opened an entire world for people that had already been interested in this.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I said, I've always been a fan, and probably will be until the day I die. They're great people. So I got to tell you this, Julie, because this is hilarious. But while you were talking, my cat Chanel's behind the computer, and she's trying to headbutt you.
Oh no, Chanel, behave yourself.
She's trying to headbutt you because she I guess likes the sound of your voice or something. The computer, you might have seen it waver a little bit. That's why, because she's.
Oh, that's funny. That happens to me a lot with animals, and they say that a lot of times an empath will have that effect on animals. If I walk into someone's home, and I have a friend who had a cat for like 18 years, and the cat would never come out and always hid from people except for me, and that was it. I mean, from the first second I walked into the place and started talking, the cat would come out. So I think it senses the empath, I think.
She likes you. Just know that.
Hi, Chanel. How are you? How you doing?
And our producer's name is Chanel. For anyone who doesn't know, hi, Chanel back there. I know she's backstage here making sure everything runs, but she's not a cat. She's just our producer.
She's Chanel #1. Remember. As we discussed earlier. Yes, because she's the first of 7 children. So we've decided that she is Chanel #1.
which in and of itself is a feat. I mean, not being #1, but 7 children is remarkable. I don't know how you do that.
I'm glad I don't have that many brothers and sisters. I would have been in prison. Oh, man.
Let me tell you, I have one. And he keeps saying, I'd really like to have a brother. I'm like, listen, dude, there's going to be a star in the east that night. That's the one, because I don't see that happening. I mean,
that ship has sailed. Yes.
Long gone. Yeah.
Well,
listen, I mean, he's 9 years old, and I still haven't lost my baby weight. I'm still fat. So I'm not starting all over again. Let me tell you.
No, my daughter, who was an only child, who's 32 now. I remember she was 5 or 6, and she said one night to me and my husband, she said, I just want something except for parents in this house, like a brother or a sister or a cat or a dog. And I looked at my husband and I said, my money's on the shelter. So we got her a dog.
Yeah. So what do you get coming up? What do you get coming up? I know you said you're going to redo that, reschedule that ghost hunt, but Do you do any private stuff like with your team? Do you go out and investigate on your own different places, or have you kind of focusing everything on your book right now?
Right at this point in time, October is booked solid with different events. I have all kinds of events scheduled for this month, different talks at the different libraries across the state. I have a really cool haunted wine night coming up at the St. Julian Winery in Troy, Michigan. That's going to be like paranormal trivia and spooky cocktails and things like that. And I'm going to read a little bit of Haunted Detroit. I mean, oh my gosh, I'm presenting at different organizations. I'm doing at the end of the month, I'm helping to put on a Curiosities and Wonders exposition with the local art center. The theme is going to be haunted funeral home, and then that night.
Wait a minute, back it up.
Yeah, I knew. I knew that would get your attention.
I owned one of those. Just saying. Can you tell me about that funeral home? Is it still a funeral home, or is it a place that you can go to investigate?
Oh, it's not a funeral home. It's just an art center, and that's just our theme, haunted funeral home.
Oh.
So I'm going to be the corpse.
You're going to be the corpse.
I'm going to be the corpse. They're going to be the employees. And
do you want me to come down and do your makeup?
Oh, I got it covered. Thank you.
No, Scott, she doesn't want to look like Mary Tyler Moore.
Mary Tyler Moore. Yep.
But then that night after the event, I'm starting my ghost walk. So I'm doing 2 different tours. So 5 to 7 and then 8 to 10. And then the next day I'm doing the ghost tours again. And it just pretty much is going to be like that up until probably mid-November. I work pretty much every single day. And so, I mean, we'll fit in investigations when we can. We do like, when people message us, of course. But, it's just there's a lot on my plate right now.
Well, can you tell people listening how they can get tickets for your ghost walks, if there are still any available?
Sure, absolutely. If they go to, I believe the website is studio23baycity.org, and they should be able to just see the ghost walks listed under the events. And they're $30 a person, but we split the funds, so half of the funds go to the arts here in Bay City.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And how long is the ghost walk?
It's 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
And we walk through basically like the old red light district and talk about some of the haunted locations and the haunted history. Mm-hmm. But like I said, if anybody is interested in checking out other events that I'm doing, if they can't make the ghost walks, like I said, I'm doing so many of them, and they're in all different parts of the state. So, maybe somebody can't make it to Bay City or can't make it to the Detroit area. So, maybe they'll find another one that fits within their schedule and that's close to their home. But they can just go to my Facebook page or even Instagram. And it's just at author Nicole, Nicole, Beauchamp, Beauchamp. And if you follow me, if you go to the events tab on Facebook, you can pull up at least a portion of the events that I'm doing. There's a lot more, but I do post them to the page as I get the flyers and things like that.
Great.
I wish we were closer.
Oh, I do too. So has anything spooky or unusual ever taken place on one of these ghost walks? Something that you cannot explain.
Well, we just started them in recent years, so I guess not quite yet, but that's not to say it never will. We tend to do these walks when most of the city is getting ready to go to sleep, especially the 8 to 10 one. A lot of people are at home and it's very quiet, and So there's a lot of possibilities for these paranormal happenings to take place and to be seen.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes.
So Nicole, we have about 4 minutes left.
Okay.
And I want to remind people, your books are Haunted Bay City and Haunted Detroit, and they can get them everywhere, right? Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere that books are sold, they can get them. And I have my copy and I love it. And that's what it looks like. If you're looking for it, the little red dot just means that this was a signed copy, because I met her. I was very gracious. She was gracious enough to sign it for me, and I was very grateful that she did. Next week on the Paranormal Project, we have Denise Devine coming on from the Wilson Castle in Rutland, Vermont. Nicole, have you ever heard of Wilson Castle?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It is a castle. They came over from Europe and built this castle. And then he built the castle for his wife, but it was actually her money. And then when the money ran out, he ditched her and left. He
ran out too. Money ran out. He ran out. Old story. Boy meets girl. Girl meets boy. Girl gives him his money. Boy leaves.
That kind of thing. But let me tell you, that is the creepiest place I have ever been to for an investigation. And I'm going to try to put some evidence together that we had from some of our investigations there that we can play, because it's crazy.
Very active place.
It's like the Clue Mansion, but it's a castle. It's just incredible.
Yeah,
so,
I want to go there.
Yeah, if you can be on next week with us at 7:00 on Wednesday, Denise Devine's going to be on. And it's really should be a fantastic show. And it's sitting out in the middle of like nowhere in Vermont.
In Rutland, Vermont. And okay, I'm just going to give people a tidbit of what kind of place this is. We took a newbie investigator there.
The story.
I'm just going to tell you that she was very nervous and asked if she could spend the night in the same room with me. And I said, absolutely. So we found an open area with 2 couches, one on each side. And there was a pool table in the middle of it. And there were skeletons set up because it was around Halloween, as if they were shooting pool. Now, we had walked by this all night. We even put equipment on this. Nothing moved. Absolutely nothing moved. So before I went to sleep, I just did my intention and said, we've been respectful of you. We're going to go to sleep. Please respect us. Got up in the morning. I walked down the stairs to use the bathroom, which was long, beautiful, winding staircase. And the young woman was just waking up. I went into the bathroom and suddenly I heard literally blood-curdling screaming and cursing like a sailor. And this young woman, I'd never heard her curse before. Running down the stairs, Scott and 2 other people were in the kitchen, came running out, all this commotion. And apparently I left, and something, somewhere, somehow, pool balls and pool cues were thrown her way.
Off the wall. They were hanging on the wall. And they
were off the wall. The pool cues were everywhere. It was just the most bizarre thing we had ever seen. Absolutely bizarre.
Knocked over. And I mean, it was crazy.
It was crazy. And we went upstairs and we did our due diligence. We put everything back together and we're pounding on the table and stomping. And we just could not get them to move. And like I say, we had been using this table all night to put our equipment, heavy pieces of equipment on this table. Nothing had happened. So what happened? We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
That's amazing.
And we'll be talking about that next week on the show for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. It's been the Paranormal Project. Nicole, it has been such a pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you, Nicole. Loved it.
Go out and get her book.
Thank you so much.
She's a great author. Haunted Bay City, Haunted Detroit, and we will see you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
You have been listening to The Paranormal Project with Scott Allen and Julie Finn. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. While you're there, leave us a rating and review so others can find out about the show. Stay haunted and go out there and explore the paranormal.